Hi there and welcome to the channel. Today I'm doing something really cool and really different and unique today that I've wanted to try for a little while. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video especially, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to let me know that you enjoyed this. So let's kind of get into it, hey? So with the way that I did my Twitch style of videos, I wanted to do that for something I'm very passionate about as well, and that is gaming. As you know, I have a second channel that's dedicated to gaming content. I wanted to do one of those styles of videos, but for gaming, and see whether or not, that might be something I could do in the future, and I think it is after putting together this video. So today, we're going to be talking about lucky old hot topic right now, Cyberpunk 2077. Oh, sorry, I called it by its official name. I meant Cyberbug 2077. So in this video, I wanted to kind of talk about why the game is got a problem. It has a bit of a problem, and where I think it's going to lead future, and what it's kind of setting as an industry kind of standard in the future. So let's talk about these things, hey? So in case you're just clicking on this video and you want to know more about Cyberpunk 2077, let me do a little bit of an explainer and introduction into what exactly Cyberpunk 2077 is. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that released on the 10th of December earlier this month for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. Currently there's no version exclusive to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but with backwards compatibility, you can play it on your PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's if you buy the previous copy. As the title suggests, it is a cyberpunk futuristic title set in a city called Night City. You play as a protagonist V, you get to full character customize, and it's made by a studio called CD Projekt Red that brought us titles such as the Witcher franchise, and the Witcher franchise is paraded as a fantastic franchise in video gaming. Cyberpunk has gotten quite the response, positive and negative, since its release. I'm filming this on the 22nd of December right now, so it's been out for about 12 days, and it's gotten quite the response, and I want to talk to you and show you some things about the game that make it not so great, and share some things that are good about it too. So first and foremost, let me express my personal opinion about the game. I quite enjoy the game. I have that computer over there that you're seeing, and it's spec'd out to the max, 2080 Ti, i7-10700F. It's a beautiful computer, and it runs amazing. Obviously, it's got some issues because the game is not, totally perfect, but it runs really well on the machine. So I'm quite enjoying it myself, but I know I'm not in the basket of everybody else, because people with even just a graphics card or two lower than mine are unable to run the game successfully on their computers. And we'll talk about the PlayStation version in a second. But for this video, I want to talk to you about the issues with Cyberpunk 2077 and where I think CDPR are kind of heading at this point in time. But that's the thing with this game, is that it is a fantastic and amazing game when it works fully. And that's the problem that people are having, is that if you're playing it on a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 4 is not as well equipped as my computer over there is to handle intensive games, and you're gonna see that in this video. So obviously every game isn't going to naturally have bugs and problems, but Cyberpunk, I think, may take the cake for bugs and problems. You'll be casually driving through Night City as V, and then all of a sudden V will hop out of the car, turn into a ghost, and T-pose on you out of nowhere. It's really strange. Just like GTA, cars will drive into you randomly. It's really strange. Guns will go floating around during cutscenes and things, and objects are not exactly there. Clothing pieces are missing. Heads are... You get the point. There's a lot of bugs and a lot of problems with the game. But surprisingly, that's not the biggest issue with the game. I wanted to get that one out of the way because that's not the biggest problem with the game. Let's talk about the PlayStation 4 Edition specifically, because it's pretty laughable. So when CDPR released Cyberpunk 2077, they did not release it, as I mentioned before, on PS5 or Xbox Series X. They built it for the PS4s, Xbox Ones, and PCs for some reason. Not entirely sure as to why that was and why that decision was made to not launch it for solely next-gen consoles, because half of these issues wouldn't exist if it was launched solely for next-gen consoles. But it was launched for last-gen and last-gen only, and PC, we have problems. It went so far as problems as Sony and PlayStation have removed Cyberpunk entirely from their digital stores. You can't buy Cyberpunk if you load up the PlayStation Network on your PS4 or 5 right now. You just simply cannot buy it. It's not there. You can still buy digital copies on places like Amazon and stuff, and you redeem them, they'll still work. But in PlayStation, and you want to buy it exclusively through PlayStation, which is a vast majority of the market, you can't buy it. And that is a huge thing, because that's never happened before. No game, in my recollection at least, has been taken off of the PlayStation Store or any store, Steam, Microsoft, Xbox Store, whatever, for this kind of system. Now, why has it been taken off, you might ask? Well, I'll chuck some images and some videos up on the screen while I'm in editing in post to show you exactly why. The game doesn't work pretty much at all on PlayStation 4. It works on PlayStation 5, but not a lot of people are lucky to have a PlayStation 5. I've got one sitting right next to me here, but not a lot of people are lucky enough to have them, so they're stuck with their PlayStation 4 versions of the game, and PlayStation 4, you virtually just can't play the game. Textures take forever to load in, the game crashes quite often, the audio quality is terrible, the graphic quality is just absolutely appalling. It makes you wonder what they were actually building this game for. Were they building this game for PlayStation 4? Because it kind of doesn't look like they were building it. And if they were building it for PlayStation 4, gee Louise. Here's the problem with that, and why that would since been removed, because places like Australia here, I can't speak exactly for American consumer law or any other nation's consumer laws or anything, but I can speak for Australian consumer law because I have some kind of idea of it. What Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red have done by selling the PlayStation 4 version of the game is pretty much illegal, what they've done. And here in Australia, you're supposed to give a guarantee that it's going to work, it's going to serve its purpose. And if you're selling something that doesn't actually work in end or doesn't actually do anything, it's kind of illegal and you shouldn't be selling it, hence why PlayStation globally have taken it down. CDPR are allowing you to get refunds, PlayStation are giving you refunds if you wish, despite how long you've played it. CDPR are giving refunds on all the platforms and through all the stores if stores or platforms won't give you a refund for it, but most platforms are issuing refunds for it because of just how poorly it's been done. Now, that was a pretty big step to take for PlayStation. I've been hearing quotes and people talking about it saying Cyberpunk is meant to be the biggest game of the decade, and yeah, it was meant to be that, but I think it's the biggest flop of the decade at the moment with everything, all things considered. So, it's unfortunate. But that's not where the bad elements about Cyberpunk finish. Obviously, we understand developer crunch time and things to be a massive thing in the game industry, but we don't really understand this as well as we now do. In an article broken on Twitter by VGC News, the studio head for CD Projekt Red was seen interacting and engaging in tweets that were criticizing Sony's decision to remove Cyberpunk off the PlayStation Store. Now, why is this a massive problem, and why is this even being brought up in this video? I tell you why it's being brought up in this video, because it was a mutual agreement amongst CDPR and PlayStation to remove Cyberpunk from the store. PlayStation came to CDPR and said, we want to remove the game, and CDPR agreed. And then the studio head for CDPR, this studio responsible for developing Cyberpunk, is engaging in negative actions against Sony, essentially, is what he's doing, engaging immaturely and negatively towards Sony. There's a tweet that they were seen liking saying, why was Avengers not taken off the PlayStation Store? I want my money back for buying Avengers. Here's why to the person who said that. Avengers actually ran on the PlayStation 4. I know, because I played it. Avengers might not have been a fantastic game, and I'm a believer that it wasn't a good game. I didn't enjoy it, but it ran on my console. Cyberpunk, for everybody, almost everybody on PlayStation 4, does not run. So that for me is a humongous issue in itself. The fact that the head of the studio is basically going against his corporate relationships, basically, to say, I don't agree with it, and I don't think it's the right thing to do, give me money, wow, 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 whingy Mr. Krabs kind of vibe, energy-esque thing. A thing I actually didn't really notice until recently, just before filming this video, is that if you're on PC specifically, I believe, I don't know whether or not it impacts consoles, but nobody's playing it on console anyway because it doesn't work. But with PC users specifically who, like myself, are able to run the game, yeah, we're still running into problems. The save game issue is a thing, and you're probably going, what save game issue? Let me explain it to you. For some reason, CD Projekt Red have made it to where the save file in the files of the game that you install is not allowed to grow larger than 8 megabytes. So if you spend a large amount of time in your game customizing items, looting, modding items and such that add to your game's file size, and it grows above 8 megabytes, it will work while you're playing it, but then when you quit and save and exit the game for the night to go to bed and then go to work the next day, the next time you load it up, you'll lose your save file, corrupted, and will be totally unrecoverable. CDPR were asked for comment on this, and they said that they will look into increasing the file size in the very near future, but it may not be a thing, and they can't do anything about the corrupted data. It's unfortunate that even when people have difficulties running it on their consoles or machines even, and then you get to this point where you've got a decent computer, a decent machine or whatever, you're still gonna run into problems and run into issues even with all of your high-tech gear. It's a little disappointing because, you know, this game was hyped up to be the game of the decade, to be the best game ever made. And I think with some tweaking and some fixing, it could very well be that, but I don't think it ever will be that now, given the reputation that the game has. People make a lot of comparison to No Man's Sky with Cyberpunk, and I don't think that's a fair comparison to make. No Man's Sky was a terrible game when it launched because the content was boring when you bought the game initially, but the game worked. The game turned itself around, and today is a fantastic game among community members of that game. I have friends who play it and praise the game for coming back, for its, you know, its triumphant return, essentially, from what it once was to what it is now. Contrast this with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is a fantastic game, but Cyberpunk just does not work at all. Now, like I mentioned, I do think this has the potential to be a fantastic game, and with all these issues that I've mentioned in this video being fixed, it could very well be a Game of the Year candidate if all these issues hadn't happened. Now, having seen it and having had it get the reputation and develop the reputation, I don't know whether or not CD Projekt Red will survive beyond this game. I would truly love to see them survive and continue to develop games, because I want to see that happen to every game company that makes games. You want to see diversity in the games that's being created. You want to see competition in the games that's being created. You don't want to see the franchise that brought you The Witcher going down because of one game. You don't want to see that. So I'm rooting for CDPR, but I don't like their chances. When I see things like the studio head going and interacting with tweets criticizing Sony, it makes me go, well, why did you make the deal? Did you make the deal to keep them happy, but you were whining about it because you were going to lose money out of it? You got to also feel for the developers, the game designers and such, who have been working, creating the art for this game, developing and putting together the actual game, as opposed to the studio heads, who put in a lot of blood, sweat and tears and crunch time, and have largely with this year been doing it from home. You've got to feel for them. But then there's also, to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, it's also why was nothing said by the people designing the game saying we can't push this out, we need to delay it again, we cannot push this out because it's in a terrible state. The game was first announced in 2013 at E3 with no release date set, and it said it would come out when it's ready, and it's now come out and it wasn't ready to be released. It's a little disappointing. The game had gone gold back in October, I believe, ahead of its November 10th or 13th release date, I believe it was, originally scheduled for. And it had gone gold, it was ready to publish, and then it was delayed again, out of nowhere. So it makes me think, well, if we've gotten it in this version, what would we have gotten it in back in November? How would that have worked? I don't even think it would have worked probably at all on any computers or machines or anything. Alrighty, so that's going to be me wrapping up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it a lot. Let me know if you liked this video and enjoyed it. I'll totally be doing probably more of them in the future if you guys like this, and I enjoyed putting it together. It was nice to talk about gaming. While I'm passionate about tech and Twitch and stuff, I'm also very passionate about gaming. So I guess you could kind of, I don't know what you'd call this channel then. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button and consider subscribing. I'm sure I'll be doing more videos of this style now in the future, now that I've done one and quite enjoyed making it. Also, feel free to hop into my Twitch chat, link in the description below and on screen right now. I stream 5 nights a week currently over there, having some fun times. If you think something about Cyberpunk that I haven't mentioned in this video, or you've played Cyberpunk and you want to share your experiences about Cyberpunk, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your experiences and how good or bad they've been. I'd really love to hear some good experiences, because I seem to be one of the only people that are actually enjoying the game or are even able to enjoy the game at the moment. So I'd love to hear some good ones, but I'm so interested to hear how badly your game bugged out. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your time zone and a happy holiday season, because this video is going up on like Christmas Eve for me. So happy holidays, be safe, treat one another well, and until next time, bye bye.